Hey friends, Dr. B here. People ask me all the time what a gastroenterologist actually eats. Not the Instagram version, the real version. What's on the counter, what's in the fridge, what goes in the bowl most mornings. So today, I'm gonna show you the 5 foods that I eat on most days. They aren't exotic and bizarre. These are affordable, plan-forward foods that are downright delicious, but I choose them for a specific purpose because they are so good for your gut. And one of them actually grows on my kitchen counter. Let me show you. Okay, so a quick framing thing before we dive in, because I think it matters. When people ask about my diet, they expect a list of superfoods or some elaborate ritual. What they usually get instead is a tour of the foundational foods, the humble ones that we overlook, but I go for them because they do more for my gut than the superfoods would. What I'm going to show you today is not the only 5 foods that I eat, quite the opposite. If you follow my work, then you already know I eat for variety, 30 different plants a week, which I've written about in Fiber Fueled and I come back to constantly because the research keeps reinforcing it. What I'm sharing today is not a prescription. It's the 5 I reach for most often because each one does a specific job. Fiber, polyphenols, healthy fats, fermented foods. And when you stack them together, you cover a lot of ground and you're gonna see all of them in the next 10 minutes. But one last thing, I said most days. The truth is not every day because look, life happens. You travel, you break your rules, you skip a meal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is a pattern, a good pattern. Let's go. Number 1, the kiwi. Let me tell you why this little green fruit punches so far above its weight. 2 kiwis a day is a clinically tested dose for constipation relief. In a randomized controlled trial that was published in 2021 in the American Journal of Gastroenterology, Chia and colleagues compared kiwi fruit to psyllium and to prunes in adults with chronic constipation. Kiwi performed as well as the other 2, and people reported less bloating and fewer GI side effects on the kiwi than on the psyllium. So why does it work? Kiwi gives you 3 things at once. It has soluble fiber. In fact, soluble fiber that almost forms like a gel. It has insoluble fiber. And it has an enzyme called actinidin that helps to break down proteins in the gut, which really just helps to set your gut at ease. It's a small fruit doing 3 jobs. But on top of that, it's a great source of vitamin C. 1 kiwi has more vitamin C than an orange, and it's loaded with polyphenols. That's why you get that beautiful pop in green. So how do I eat it? I could peel 2, slice them, drop them in a bowl, sometimes on a salad, sometimes straight up. But the truth is, if the skin is thin and fuzzy, you can eat that too. That's where a big chunk of the fiber actually is. Now, I know that sounds weird. The texture is less strange than you think, and the fiber payoff is legit. 2 kiwis, once a day. It's the simplest upgrade to most people's mornings, and it helps you to have those glorious regular bowel movements. All right, number 2, no pun intended, broccoli sprouts. This is the one that's growing on my countertop right now. Broccoli sprouts are 3 to 5 day old broccoli plants, little sweet babies. They're tiny, they're delicate, and actually they're a little bit spicy. And they contain roughly 10 to 100 times more of a compound called sulforaphane than mature broccoli does. Think about that, 10 to 100 times what that full-grown broccoli has. Sulforaphane is one of the most studied phytochemicals in nutrition science. It activates something called the NRF2 pathway, which is your cell's built-in antioxidant and detoxification system. When NRF2 is activated, your cells make their own protective enzymes. It's not a supplement shortcut. It's telling your own body to turn up its protective machinery. The research on broccoli sprouts is one of my favorite stories in nutrition. Paul Talalay and Jed Fahey at Johns Hopkins spent decades on this work, and what came out of their lab changed the way a lot of us think about cruciferous vegetables. I grow my own broccoli sprouts at home. I use a kit from the Sprouting Company, a company that I love so much that I decided to invest in them. I'll link the kit below if you want to check it out. The reason I use a kit rather than a plastic container from the grocery store is cost and freshness. I'm getting the absolute freshest, most nutrient-dense food at a fraction of the cost. But if you'd rather buy them, you can find them in the refrigerated section of a good grocery store. So how do I eat them? A handful on top of avocado toast, salads, drop them in soups. Once the soup has cooled a bit, you don't want to cook them too much because the sulforaphane is actually heat sensitive. The flavor is a little bit like a mild radish, but embrace the bitter because that is the phytochemical, a little bit spicy, that actually activates the detoxification pathways. So I welcome that. If you're new to broccoli sprouts, start small, work your way up. Number 3. Chia seeds. I know chia had a weird moment in the 2010s where it was somewhere between a miracle food or a cliche, depending on who you asked. Let me tell you why I've landed on this is real. A single tablespoon of chia seeds gives you about 5 grams of fiber. The fiber profile is mostly soluble, which means it turns gel-like when it hits water. And that gel behavior is doing something in your gut. It slows stomach emptying, which actually helps you keep full longer. It feeds your gut microbiome, that's prebiotic. And it pulls water into your stool, which is one of the ways that we can help to maintain regularity. Chia is also one of the best plant-based sources of ALA, which is one of the omega-3 fatty acids. And it's also very rich in polyphenols. Here's a tip that I have found super helpful that most people are not going to tell you. You should grind your chia seeds. A cheap little spice grinder works perfectly. The reason is that the outer shell of a whole chia seed can pass through your digestive system completely undigested, which means that you don't get the full nutritional payoff. Grinding cracks the shell open, which makes the plant-based omega-3s, the soluble fiber, and the polyphenols more bioavailable. How do I eat it? Okay. It is so simple. A tablespoon of chia seeds goes into almost every single smoothie that I make. But here's the one that I'm excited to tell you about. A matcha lemon chia drink. 12 to 16 ounces of water, a teaspoon of matcha, the squeeze of a juice of a lemon, and a teaspoon of ground chia. Stir, let it sit for 2 minutes. The chia starts to gel, and boom, drink it. It is refreshing. It's loaded with polyphenols from the matcha, the lemon, and it starts my day with fiber and hydration at the same time. And who could ever forget overnight chia pudding? 3 tablespoons of chia, a cup of kefir or plant-based milk, a little bit of maple syrup, and then a sprinkle of berries on top. 10 seconds of prep, you go to bed and you wake up and this incredible breakfast is waiting for you. That's the kind of formula I'm looking for. Number 4 is kefir. Kefir is a fermented milk drink, traditionally made from either cow's milk or goat's milk, but I mostly use plant-based versions. It's been around for centuries. It's tangy, it's a little effervescent, and ounce for ounce, it's one of the most microbe-diverse foods you can buy. A typical cup of kefir has between 10 and 30 different strains of live bacteria and yeast. Most yogurts have 2 or 3. That strain diversity is part of why kefir punches above its weight when it comes to gut health. And here's the part I'm most excited about. I've been mixing my morning kefir with my 38 Terra Daily Microbiome Nutrition. Full transparency, I'm the co-founder of 38 Terra, but the reason I'm calling this out is that there's a new study that just came out about this combination that I've just laid before you. A 2025 randomized controlled trial by my friend, Dr. Amrita Vijay and her colleagues, which was published in the Journal of Translational Medicine, looked at a combination of prebiotic fiber plus fermented kefir and compared it to fiber alone or omega-3s. Now, this was done in adults with chronic low-grade inflammation. And what they found is that the kefir plus prebiotic combination led to meaningful reductions in an inflammatory marker called IL-6. This is one of the key inflammatory markers that we actually pay attention to. And the reductions tracked with increases in serum butyrate, which is the short-chain fatty acid your microbiome produces when it ferments fiber, and which is one of the most important signaling molecules when it comes to gut health. So let me break down what this means. Fiber on its own is great. Fermented food on its own, also great. But together, they're better than either alone. We call that synergy. That's why I'm putting my 38 Terra into my kefir most mornings. And number 5, chickpeas, the humblest entry on the list, and yet the one I probably eat the most often. Chickpeas, garbanzos, same thing. They are a fiber powerhouse. About 12 grams of fiber in a cup of cooked chickpeas. It's mostly a mix of soluble fiber and resistant starch. Now, resistant starch is the part that I want to highlight for a quick moment because it's one of the most effective prebiotics for your gut microbiome to produce butyrate. This is the short-chain fatty acid that has the biggest impact on the gut lining and reducing inflammation. Chickpeas also are an excellent source of plant protein, iron, magnesium, and a significant amount of polyphenols in the outer skin. They're cheap, they store forever, they're endlessly adaptable, and they can be made extremely delicious. So here's how I eat them. Let me be honest, I'm a little bit like Bubba from Forrest Gump.
Shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp butter.
Chickpea chana masala, chickpea on a grain bowl, chickpeas with extra virgin olive oil, chickpeas on a salad, chickpeas in a stew, chickpeas in a soup, chickpeas in any sauce.
That's about it.
If you're new to beans and you're worried about gas, because I know that's the reason a lot of you don't eat them, here's my practical guidance. Start small. Rinse the canned chickpeas thoroughly. Let your microbiome adapt over 2 to 3 weeks. The gas is temporary, but the benefits are huge and they're durable. And if you want an even lower gas option while you adjust, go for lentils first. They tend to be gentler than chickpeas for some people. So that's the 5: kiwi, broccoli sprouts, chia seeds, kefir, and chickpeas. Every one of these is a workhorse. Every one of them is honoring the fiber, the polyphenols, the healthy fats, and the fermented foods that we're searching for. Between them, you're covering all of the 4 pillars of plant-powered nutrition that I've written about in Plant Powered Plus. And between them, you're getting on a typical day a real chunk of the 30 plants a week target that I think is one of the most useful heuristics in nutrition. Now, I'm not saying that these are the only foods I eat. I love food and I eat for variety. My fridge is a friggin' jungle. But these 5 are the ones that show up most consistently because they're proven, they're accessible, they each do a specific job, and you know what? I'm just gonna say it, they're delicious. If you're gonna change anything tomorrow, based on this video, start with the kiwis. It's the easiest possible upgrade. You do 2 a day. You see how your body responds over the next 2 weeks. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. I know when people show you how they eat, it can feel prescriptive, like here's the right way, do it or else. That's not what this is. This is me, Dr. B, coming at you straight from the kitchen with my pattern of what works for me. Your version is gonna look a little bit different, and that's totally fine. What matters is variety, plants, and consistency over time. If you want more of the why behind what's on your plate, subscribe. If you want to try any of this, kiwis at the grocery store, broccoli sprouts from your counter, chia ground in a spice grinder, kefir from the fridge, chickpeas from a can. The hardest part is starting. Your gut is paying attention to what you feed it, so feed it well. I'll see you next week.